Lease-Operator or lease-purchase? Which is better? On today's episode of Driven Too Far, we're going to find out so you can make the right choice. Hello, I'm Andrew Winkler with Chief Carriers, and this is Driven Too Far, the truth about trucking, a podcast that helps over-the-road truck drivers balance career and family. Lease purchase programs, probably the hottest topic I can think of right now in the industry. We get a lot of drivers calling in, a lot of messages in the course of a day. Hey, tell us about your lease program, what you got going on over there at Chief. But I want to break it down. There's two types of programs that you typically hear about in the industry. That's Lease-Operator and Lease-Purchase are the two that are most common. So what is a Lease-Operator? Well, Lease-Operator, typically it's a short-term type lease, maybe like a 12-month walk-away type lease. You're usually getting a new or newer truck in the fleet. And the advantage to that is this might be set up for somebody that's, maybe it's your first time. You're not sure if this is the right move for you. I don't want to get in too deep over my head type thing. So the Lease-Operator can be a great way to go, kind of get your feet wet as an independent contractor and see if it's the right move for you. The advantage, again, getting new trucks under warranty, typically still under the factory type warranty and stuff. And it's kind of a low risk thing for you. So let's say you get in and you figure out it's not for you, it's not what you wanted, or something changes on the home front. It's pretty easy to step away from the Lease-Operator programs in most cases. They usually have a walk-away clause that just says, listen, if this isn't for you, you can step away from it. No harm, no foul, no penalties. Most of them, no penalties. But there's really nothing there to burn you. Let's say that. There's nothing there to burn you as a driver. You just simply step away. You didn't earn any equity in the truck. The truck goes back to the carrier. They put it back in their fleet. They turn around, lease it again, whatever they're going to do with it. But pretty low risk. Now, on the other side of that is the lease purchase. And it's just like what it says is it's kind of a lease to buy, lease to own type thing. These are typically set up with trucks that are a little bit older, maybe 3-4 years old in the fleet, maybe something that's scheduled to come out of the fleet. But the idea there is it's not the Lease-Operator is just like you're renting the truck, right? It's just part of your business expense. You're never going to own it. This one you're actually going to own. So lease purchase, you're making weekly or monthly payments back to the carrier or whoever's financed it for them. And you're actually earning equity in that truck every payment you make. And the idea is that 24 months, 36, 48 months, whatever that term was, you're physically going to own that vehicle at the end of the term. There's probably going to be like $1 buyout type thing. And once that's done, they're going to sign the title, hand it over to you, and you're the proud owner of a well-used truck now. But the idea behind that is the lease payments can be a little bit less because it's an older vehicle. It's not worth as much. And on the flip side of that is the maintenance. You can expect a little more maintenance cost on an older vehicle. But if you come out of that right at 2, 3, 4 years and you've paid the vehicle off, you've got a title in hand of a truck that has some equity in it. It could be worth $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 still, depending on what you bought. You could continue to run it with no payments and make some good money that way, or you could take that truck, trade up to that next truck. Now you've got some kind of trade value or equity or down payment on that dream truck, something like that. So that's really the difference. It's the Lease-Operator is the low risk walk away type thing, and the lease purchase is you're going to end up owning the vehicle at the end of that term. So which is better? What's the better program? And there's no right answer to that. It's just you've got to think through this and figure out where you're at and what it is you're exactly wanting to do. In our case, we run both programs at our company, and I would say the Lease-Operator is probably more popular because the drivers are stepping into new or newer trucks. That's just the way they like to do it. Then we've got another handful of guys that say, you know what, that's crazy. I'm not making that big payment on that truck. I'll take my chances with that 4-year-old Freightliner that's still in good shape. Still may have a little bit of factory warranty under it, depending on the miles when you buy it. But they understand they're going to have to put away a little bit more money for the maintenance side of things. So when I look at the two different options there, I think back, I'm trying to think about what's the biggest challenges. What do I've seen in our program that's been out there for 2.5, 3 years now? Typically where I see drivers get in trouble, if there was two areas where I think they can or occasionally do get in trouble. First off is the maintenance side. Are they putting enough away for maintenance? And just because you're in a lease operator system where you're in a new truck, it doesn't mean you don't have maintenance expense. Obviously, you're still doing all the PMs and there's going to come a time when you need tires and things like that. But the funny thing is about new trucks, when you think they have factory warranty, that's not bumper to bumper warranty. That doesn't cover everything. It just covers the major components. So you're talking about the internal parts of the engine, transmission, rear ends, and maybe the DEF system are typically what's covered. But if you have a wiring harness or something like that go bad, that's usually not covered. So it's reasonable that you could be in a truck that's only a year old and you have some kind of a wiring failure, and that's going to be an out-of-pocket expense to you as a lease operator. So the maintenance is a big one. You really gotta, I would suggest wherever you do, work with the people in your company and just ask them, what is best practice? How much money should I be putting away every pay settlement, paycheck towards maintenance? And they typically run a maintenance escrow or a savings account for you where you can put money away. And the best advice is put more away than you think you need, because then it just kind of ends up being a savings account for you. When you need that money, it's going to be there. The company's not going to take it from you. In our case, that's always the driver's money. So you could have $10,000 sitting in a maintenance escrow account, and maybe that driver decides to leave or do something different. That's their money. Once the truck's turned in and everything's settled up, that's their money. We're certainly not going to dip into that. So I think if the drivers that use it as a savings plan, I think that really helps them. It's the guys that don't put enough away, and then all of a sudden they have a breakdown and they don't have enough cash, they don't have enough in the bank, they don't have enough in escrow. Hey, Mr. Carrier, can you help me foot this bill? And many times we will, and help them make payment arrangements just so they're successful at it. But it's easy to get in trouble with that. It just seems like it starts a cycle if they don't put enough money away. So that's the first thing. And the second thing I would say I see drivers get in trouble with is time off. So as an independent contractor, it doesn't matter if you're lease op or lease purchase, managing your time is a big one, because all of a sudden you're an independent contractor and you're no longer that company employee that has to put in for time off or schedule vacation and do things like that. You can kind of come and go as you please, work when you want within reason, right? But what I see is I've seen drivers that maybe are, they're just kind of making it. They're doing okay, not getting fat or rich by any means. But then they all of a sudden they decide, I got a concert I want to go to. I want to take a week off, or we're going camping for a week or something like that. What they fail to realize is that those truck payments never stop, right? So that week that you're off, if your truck payment's $1,000 a week, that didn't stop. So you got to make that up. You essentially need to have that in the bank somewhere where you can pay that off. You don't want to go backwards or get upside down with your truck payments with the company. But I see drivers like they just don't quite think far enough ahead when it comes to time off. Holidays can be another one. By gosh, we're taking Thanksgiving and Christmas off, and hey, I get it, and you should. Just that you got to plan ahead, which usually means I need to work a little bit harder to put a little bit more away. So when the time off opportunities do come, I've got some set aside to get me through that. So why do carriers offer these programs in the first place? Well, there's a variety of reasons for it, and I'll tell you what our reasoning was for starting this about 2.5 years ago. It's what the drivers wanted. When you talk to drivers, when drivers call in and they see your company out there, they see your trucks, and maybe they're interested in going to work for you. Hey, do you have a lease purchase program? And at the time we hadn't started one yet, but I couldn't get over the number of calls that would come in over a week's time frame from potential drivers that wanted to come work for us. And they were looking for a lease purchase. They don't want to be a company driver anymore. I want a lease purchase. So, thankfully, I'd had experience with my former company setting up and running those lease purchase type things. And we learned a lot of things over the years. And one of the big things was a lot of guys are getting into it for the first time. They just don't know what they're getting into. They think it's going to be bigger money, more responsibility. And, you're a small business owner, and that's kind of part of the American dream. So they aren't sure what to expect. But what we did is we put the education into the system. So we don't sell a truck to just anybody. There's certain criteria you need to go through, education pieces, online classes, kind of business classes online, so you understand that. We put on a half-day workshop with anybody that wants to become a lease operator, and that kind of helps them see the future, and is it really the right move for you? Not everybody moves forward after that. They just go, this might be more than I really want to bite off. Maybe I'll just kind of hold off for now and stay that company driver. But, that was the reason for us, was there's a lot of demand for it. And one of your goals as a carrier or truck line is you got to keep your seats full. And if you can't, or you're struggling, or it's hard to keep the trucks full with company drivers, qualified company drivers, I should say, then the lease operator option can be a great way for you to fill some trucks. And it certainly worked well for us. We've not had any trouble keeping all of our trucks full really since we started that program. Now, do you have turnover? Yeah, of course you do. We all do out there. But for the most part, I can confidently say that somebody says, how many empty trucks do you got? I'm at maybe 2, 3. Just, it's not very many trucks at all. But this lease program has certainly helped that. It gives drivers the option they want, and it helps build loyalty to the company. The guys get in it and they like it. They like the money they're earning. They like being their own business person. So it's kind of a win-win for both parties, really. The other reason, or another reason lease programs can be attractive to drivers is because, if we're being honest, sometimes not everybody has the best credit. And if you're going to go down to Peterbilt or Freightliner or whatever truck brand you like, and you want to look at a new truck, used truck off the lot, if the credit's not great, or you've never operated a truck before as an owner operator, there's a good chance they're going to ask for a big down payment. And odds are you probably don't have it, right? So that's what's attractive to these programs, is essentially you're leasing vehicles that are already in the company's fleet. A lot of times there's no down payment. It's very easy entry into the program of these when the carriers run it. Now, do the carriers make money off of it? Yeah, we do. And I'll tell you why it works and why I say it's a win-win. Because the driver is going to make more money, whether you're paid on percentage or mile, whatever that looks like. But your paychecks are going to go up. And I usually tell drivers 10 to 30% more than you made as a company driver. Is the company going to benefit from it? Well, we are too, because you know what? All of a sudden you're an independent contractor, meaning we're no longer paying payroll taxes. We're no longer having to furnish health insurance for you. So that's our side of the benefits. And the other side is we get to keep a truck full by doing it. So it truly is and can be a win-win if everybody's invested in it and doing the process right. So which of the two options, lease operator or lease purchase, is more popular in the industry? Again, there's no right or wrong. It just depends what you're doing, what you want to accomplish, maybe what that carrier you're working with, what they have to offer. But if I was looking at popularity, I'd have to say the lease operator is the most popular one, at least in our case, and I think most cases. And it's because of the new trucks. If we get down to it, that's what it's really all about, is everybody wants a new, fancy, pretty truck. You get something new with warranty on it, makes you feel good, like, a little bit of security there. You got somebody standing behind you should something go wrong with the truck. But I absolutely think that the lease operator is the more popular one. And again, it's a really low risk. It's pretty low risk for both parties. If you get into it, you don't like it as a company guy, you just simply said, here's the keys, and you step away. Hopefully you didn't bang up the truck or, things like that. But definitely more attractive, I think, than probably the lease purchase, because you're jumping into a used truck. The idea is you don't know how many drivers have been in it, even though that's been maintained under a fleet maintenance, type system. Hey, it's a used piece of equipment. You just don't know when it's going to break down next. I would, to wrap up, I would actually refer you back to an older episode we did on Driven Too Far, and this was clear back March 6th of 2023. And it talks about the lease programs, and it talks about what questions you should be asking. And I think that was a really important episode to do, because what I learned by listening to our recruiter and stuff is you got drivers calling in, hey, do you do a lease program? What does it pay? Is the first thing they always want to know. But that's not enough question. They're not asking the right questions. you should be asking questions like, who pays for license plate? Who pays for toll roads? What kind of fuel surcharge? What kind of fuel discounts do you get? There's so many different things you need to ask that make up that carrier's entire program before you ask, what does it pay? Because if my program offers you all these different things, and then my pay seems to be a little bit less than the other carrier you're comparing it to, you're going, well, I'm not going with Chief. I'm going to go with these other guys because they pay more. Not at the end of the day. And that's what you have to get down to, is you really have to understand what all that means in the entire program. So anyways, check out that episode from March 6, 2023 about the questions you should be asking about lease programs. And I think that'll get you off to a great start. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Driven Too Far. If you're interested in lease programs and want to join a carrier that does it right, check us out at chiefcarriers.com.